Client has an issue. Client tells account manager they have an issue. Account manager brings that back to the daily huddle. Everything has to be talked about.
I think anybody who's kind of worked for some big corporate shithole company has experienced the
Mhm.
extreme of this. I in a former life used to work for the Ford Motor Company, and I was like middle management, yay me, which was my mom's dream come true. And I remember there were meetings about meetings where you reviewed the meeting notes from the last meeting and planned for the
Right.
next meeting and scheduled meetings, and it was meetings like
Right.
literally about fucking meetings. And I
Yep.
feel like everybody liked that because they all got paid their cushy salaries, but none of it actually
Sure.
drove the business forward. If you're working for a big corporate kind of shithole thing, then you may just your goal maybe just survive till Friday, and so you can
Sure.
get drunk. That was my goal at the time, if I could make it till
Sure.
Friday at 5
Sure.
o'clock. But it's a very different thing if it's your company and you're actually trying to drive revenue forward, and this is your baby and this pays your livelihood. And
Yeah.
so
And
I
it's
think there's
time you're paying
probably,
for.
yeah,
Like Ford corporate is paying all their people to sit around and have meetings about meetings.
yeah,
You're paying your people to show up to a call to talk about things that don't need to be talked about, right? It's literally money that's leaking out of your
yeah,
pocket because there's a giant gap in your system that the right systems, the right infrastructure can completely eliminate.
yeah. Yeah, and not only that, like just getting accurate data to like make intelligent decisions was pretty
Yeah.
much non-existent. So half the meetings were like I can remember just to give you guys an idea, and we laugh at this stuff, but I tell you there are miniature versions of that in your agency. There is still in mine, like I'm not like throwing stones at anybody, but um there was a guy who used to check quality parts at the customer's plant and make sure because we were having issues with some things, and he would write all the issues on a piece of paper, and then he would fax it into the office, and then there would be a person who would transcribe it, and then there would be another person who would take that data and type it into an Excel sheet, and then there would be a person who would generate reports off of that Excel sheet, and it would take a fucking week just to figure out what's happening with the shit, which in the customer plant in this case was like literally a half mile up the road. Like you could drive to it in 30 seconds and be there.
Right.
And
Right.
yet it took us a
Right.
week to find out what was going down the street. And
Yep.
like the communication was almost comical, the way they did it. And I promise you there
Yep.
are little versions of that in your agency now. Um,
Yes.
let's talk pillar number 5. This is
I
systems.
love
And
it.
I think this is the one that um is, at least for me personally, it's the hardest one to do because
Mhm.
it's an elephant that has to be eaten one bite at a time. It's a big
Yep.
process, but once it's done and in place, like man, does it fucking make your life easier. But let's talk systems.
Yeah, totally. It's the perfect tee up, right? Because the number one system that I would recommend every single agency have is the same exact system that's going to solve all your communication issues. Like we can laugh about your example of the Ford Motor Company and be like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But the same exact thing is happening in your agency. Like if we give a very tactical example, let's talk about a client issue, right? In the in the use case of an agency that has that daily huddle, client has an issue. Client tells account manager they have an issue. Account manager brings that back to the daily huddle. Everything has to be talked about. So now that issue has gotten assigned out to a media buyer or something, or let's be honest, you, the CEO, have to be on that meeting to tell people what to do because you're the only person that tells people what to do. So now that has to go around the meeting. Media buyer goes away. They go fix the issue. They come back the next day. Then they talk about it again. Has it been resolved? Yes, it has. Okay, now it gets handed to the account manager. Account manager can turn around and hand it back to the client, right?
Yeah. And that
That's
might be
the
two
that's
weeks.
the same thing. That's the same thing. Right. That could take a week. It could take 2 weeks. Oh, we're not there with it yet. Okay, we'll try again tomorrow. Oh, you did it, but you didn't do it right. So now let's try it again, right? All of that is just time talking about what's getting done instead of doing the thing. The system that solves all of that, I call it the single source of truth. The less sexy name is a project management system.
Yeah,
And before you ask, there's not a right
I
system.
know.
I've
I
seen
get
them
a.
all work. I've seen 7 to 8 figure agencies
Can
in
I just have a
Monday
little
and
rant
ClickUp.
before you finish on that?
Please go for it.
Because I
Go
get
for it.
asked that too all the time, and I'll tell you, this is my answer, and it's not going to change. The right project management software is the one you're going to fucking use. The end. Anyways,
Correct.
continue, please.
That's it. That's it, right? Literally. So it doesn't matter which one you use, it matters how you use it and how it's set up. But the right single source of truth, one of the primary functions is task management. So in that exact same situation, client has an issue. Account manager writes it as a task in the project management system. assigns it to the media buyer. Media buyer sees the task, gets notified that it's there, knocks it out, marks it as complete. Account manager sees that notification, turns around and hands it to the client. There's no meeting. There's no like running around that task 5 times saying, hey, is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? 100% of that communication is automated by the system itself, and it's kept transparent. It's centralized. So if there's a breakdown in that handoff, you can go into the single source of truth and see exactly what happened, who dropped the ball, where did this get stuck, why wasn't it done, right? All of that is there for you, so that as a CEO, you don't have to be personally showing up to every single meeting to know what's happening in your own business. All of that is being stored in a system that, where we get to our final pillar, data, is actually going to automatically display the data that you need to see around what's getting done, what's not getting done, how is the business performing. Yeah. So if you guys are having a communication issue, it's also and compounded by the fact that you have a systems issue. And so I think the final thing I'll say about systems here, Frankie, is that when I say operations, your immediate thought is systems. What is really, really important for your listeners to understand is that, guys, systems is 1/6 of what operations is. Yeah. Operations is all of the pillars that we just covered. And so if you're saying, I don't need operations because I don't need systems, you're missing 5/6 of the picture. And I guarantee that one of these pillars is struggling, because otherwise you wouldn't be feeling as stuck in your business as you are. Yeah.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.